Welcome to Teams Tuesday, a podcast about mastering the best about what other people have already figured out. Teams Tuesday focuses on insights and lessons that never expire. You will walk away from every episode with actionable insights that help you get better results and be more productive.
This was about as bizarre and easy as it gets.
The client just couldn't make up their mind.
I feel like we had top.
Went from a project of 20 weeks to just 2.
The DevOps was a cultural shift.
This is Teams Tuesday with your host, Peter Ward.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Teams Tuesday. My name is Peter Ward. I'm the host. It's April 2024. We're cracking in through the year. Got a really good, wonderful guest from Mexico, actually. Arturo Torres, how are you?
Doing good on you, Peter?
Very well, actually. My backdrop is the virtual backdrop. A bit different because we've actually just moved offices. As you know, last time I met you physically, you sort of came to our office and everything's in boxes. Now, you're in Mexico. Whereabouts in Mexico are you?
A city called Querétaro. It's a city right in the middle of Mexico, like 3 hours away from Mexico City.
Okay. Is that like north or south?
Northwest of Mexico City.
Right. Okay. Got it. Very cool. Okay. And the company you actually own is Vantagem. Can you just describe that a little bit?
Sure thing. We are a data consulting company. We are a team that started 5 years ago, and we're a team of 30 people, 30 data engineers, scientists, analysts, and we work for different US companies to help them make the most out of their data.
So when you say the most out of the data, what are we looking at? We're looking at Power BI, we're looking at SQL, ETL jobs, or a bit of everything, are we?
Yes, we're looking at integrating all the disparate data systems that companies may have, ERPs, TMSs, WMSs, APIs, EDIs, all those three-letter acronyms that you can think of, making sure that all that data is integrated into one single place, and then visualizing the data with tools like Power BI, and also building predictive models with data science.
Okay, very cool. Now, do you work with products like Databricks and Snowflake?
We do work with Databricks. We do work with Databricks, but 90% of our work tends to revolve around the Microsoft space. We believe right now Microsoft has kind of like the strongest offering around enterprise analytics.
Okay, very cool. Okay, so a bit of background about yourself. Okay, you're a big yoga fan, and you do like coffee and whiskey, and everything to do with health and longevity. I'm not sure about the whiskey or the coffee here, I have to say.
Yeah, longevity and whiskey don't go hand in hand, I have to say, but I mean,
okay,
not everything can be healthy.
No tequila?
Tequila, no, not that much. But mezcal, I love a good mezcal.
All right, okay, very cool. And a typical work day, what does that look like for you?
So on a basic weekday, my day starts on like at 6 a.m. I do a couple of hours of sports, running, body pump, yoga, meditation, also a bit in the morning. Then I work from like 9 to 6. And then from 6 onwards, I normally hang out with friends, with my family, calling the girlfriend, reading a lot. Yep, that's my normal weekday.
All right, very cool. Okay, now, the company's 5 years old. How many years have you been working with data projects?
I would say around 14. I started really early.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So were you working with the earlier version of the Microsoft? What was it, Performance Point or some Performance Point server? Was that Microsoft's like first BI entry, wasn't it?
They had this analysis services component, and they also had all the SSIS infrastructure. That also like SQL Server based on-premise type of technology back then. Yeah.
Yes, that all sounds pretty familiar on that front. Now, in terms of Fabric, you were at the Fabric conference 2 weeks ago, weren't you?
Yeah, we were. Some of my team members and I were in Vegas a couple of weeks ago for the first Fabric community conference.
Okay. Yep. Now, Fabric is really become, it's that to me. I think Microsoft's definitely onto a winner with this. Okay.
Yes.
And in terms of how that competes with Snowflake and Databricks, is that a correct analysis about where Fabric operates?
Yes. The interesting thing is like So many some years ago, you had like Databricks and Snowflake. Those are like big data engineering tools. So they can help you integrate all your data, but they lack some of the other features that you need for analytics. So for example, Snowflake doesn't have a data visualization layer. Databricks also doesn't have one that is as strong as, let's say, Power BI. Both of them have some machine learning and data science capabilities. But where Microsoft really kicked in with Microsoft Fabric, and it only came out 11 months ago. It came out in May of last year. So it's still relatively new. But the interesting is like under one platform, you have absolutely everything.
Right. Okay.
From
Now,
data engineering to data visualization and data science. Yeah.
Okay. Now, did Microsoft have another like big data database? Was it Cognos or something? Or no, not Cognos. That's IBM.
Cosmos?
Cosmos, yes.
Cosmos was more of a NoSQL database, more than analytics database. They used to have something, well, they still do, but there's this thing called Synapse Analytics, which is the name that Microsoft gave to their data warehouse. But that was integrated into Fabric. So what they basically did with Fabric is they gather all the tools they had, like Data Factory, their data warehouse, Synapse, all those sort of tools, and they pull them all together under one umbrella, one single pricing, one single security governance aspect. So everything became easier.
Right. Okay. Very cool. Now that's the name of the game with Fabric. That's where it's going, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you have like the Power Platform and the virtual agents. Is Fabric like sitting on top of all of this?
No, I would say that would be two separate platforms. So
Okay.
on one hand, you have Power Platform with your virtual agents, Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Pages. And then on the other hand, you have the analytics platform, which is Fabric. It's a kind of like a Venn diagram because both of them share the Power BI item. Yep.
Right. Okay. Fair enough on that. So in terms of like, like Fabric, you've been using this for 10 months. What's the favorite part of your tool that you really like here?
Just one?
Yeah. Okay. Give us three then.
So one thing that I really like is the whole concept of one source of truth.
Mm-hmm.
Previously, when we were building architectures, we had the issue that, let me share a slide that I have here.
Yeah, sure.
Here. So previously,
am I stealing your thunder into the demo here? Am I a bit?
I know.
Okay. All right. We can. Okay. Let's get. Yeah. Okay.
There we go. So previously, you had all these different tools that you had to use to do like proper enterprise analytics. So you had a tool for data integration, a tool for data engineering with Spark, Synapse, streaming analytics, data science, Power BI, all that sort of stuff. And then you had a data lake, and you could also have SQL databases and SQL, everything. But the interesting thing is that with Fabric, nowadays, everything became much centralized. So under one umbrella, you have like an entire analytics platform. Number two, everything that you do revolves around one data lake. Three, it allows everyone within the business, so your data engineers, your analysts, your end users, your data scientists, to all work under the same platform. And Microsoft likes to say it's AI powered, but I guess that's a little bit of marketing tricks.
Well, everything needs to be AI powered now.
Everything needs to be AI powered. Yeah. So there's this thing called, this is what I was talking about. There's this thing called the One Lake, which is just basically a lakehouse, meaning a data lake with structured data, where you have everything under one single piece, that data anywhere you want. So once you have created like your master data sets, let's say like a master customers table, a master sales data table, you can use that for your financial data sets, for your logistics data sets, human resources, and so on and so forth, which truly allows for one single source of truth, which was more difficult to get to previously with this past infrastructure of having many different Azure resources and many different Power BI data sets, and that sort of thing. So this is kind of like what the main things that I like. No, so number one, you have the one source of truth. Number two, everything is under one single roof, under one single pricing. And number three, governance and security. Given that everything is placed within the Microsoft Office space, you can share data in a more secure manner without having to run around setting up networks and subnets and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. So let's just talk about price. Are you talking about pricing in your presentation?
I don't have it in my presentation, but I can talk about it. Yeah.
Okay, because obviously, like the big news in the last week was that Teams is getting extracted out of the M365 SKU. Okay, so I'm hearing this a little bit from customers that it's almost a bit like it's very a la carte. The pricing model. It's almost a bit like the joke was you needed a PhD to understand Microsoft pricing. Now you need three PhDs to understand Microsoft pricing. So with this being said, can you give me what's the SKUs on this? Okay, I've got 50 users who need to use Fabric. What's going on? How does this all work?
So for the Power BI licenses, you only need like 2 PhDs. Okay, you don't need a third. Let me share my screen. I pull up the pricing just to give you guys an idea. The first level pricing is what's called the F2, which is 2 capacity units, and it runs at $260 a month. And if you reserve 1 year ahead, so you pay like for 1 year, you pay $156 a month, which is like very decent pricing, I have to say. Like it's a really good starting point. The only issue is, apart from this, you also would need to pay for Power BI Pro licenses, which run at $10 a month per user. So for those 50 users, you would need 50 times 10 plus these 262 to get started.
Okay, so why do I need the Fabric? Why can't I just use the Power BI license?
You could use the Power BI license, but that's going to bring you down to only the Power BI items. So creating a Power BI dataset, a Power BI report, Power BI data flow, those would be kind of like the 3 main ones. You would not be able to use the Lakehouse, you would not be able to use the pipelines or the data flows Gen 2 and a bunch of other different tools that you have within Fabric.
Right, okay.
Yep. So it's a good starting point. I have to say I have clients that are running with this capacity. Like it's not trivial. Like it's a good, decent capacity for like small to medium sized clients. And then of course, once you get to an if64, you can run very heavy workloads and you actually stop paying for Power BI Pro licenses when you get to F64. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay. Now, in terms of, you say one source of the truth, I'm assuming that's going to help data governance.
Yes, definitely. I'm going to dive into the demo, if that works, just to give you an idea of how the data governance works like. So as I was saying, like previously, to do like a strong data architecture, you had to have something like what I'm showing you on the screen, like either this or this or this, where you had many disparate data sources coming from many different systems, be it Oracle, AWS, SQL databases, SAP, Dynamics, Salesforce, all those sort of things. But nowadays, what Fabric allows you, skip over some slides to the actual demo, is something like this, where let's say, for example, you have your manufacturing firm is running on Infor ERP, or maybe it uses DelmiaWorks, and the data is in SQL. Your accounting, all your admin stuff, it's run on SAP, and of course we have all those different SAP databases. Then we have for human resources, you have ADP. ADP has certain APIs, and maybe you use DHL for your logistics for shipping. Well, DHL can send you Excel reports and that sort of thing. And maybe for your freight, you use CH Robinson. CH Robinson has an API. Well, what Fabric allows you is to, doesn't matter where the data is, doesn't matter in which format it is, you can push it over into the OneLake. And that's a little bit of the demo that I want to show you guys today.
Yeah, you said OneLake, or data. Is that data lake? You said data lake or OneLake?
It's one and the same.
Okay. Tell me, what's a lake house? Tell me what. I hear that, but I'm not a data person. Tell me what a lake house is.
Let me show you. Let me just show you what a lake house is. It's kind of difficult to explain, but basically it's a data lake with structured data. So here you're actually right now seeing a lakehouse with different tables. So in a lakehouse, you can have either tables or files. Tables are structured database in a what's called a delta format, which is similar to a Parquet. And you can have all these sort of tables with your data, and it works similar to how a SQL database would work. In many ways, you can actually use the SQL analytics endpoint and run SQL queries against it. So I could run this query and I could change the code around and all that sort of thing, you know? Mm-hmm. Now, the cool thing about a lakehouse, you not only have structured tables like this, which with like specific schemas, but you can also have files. So let's say, for example, I wanted to upload Excel sheets from my company. I could go ahead, select, and start opening up different files from my over to the lakehouse, and I could start running queries against them, and I could start processing them and that sort of thing, which is a component that is very powerful for most companies because a lot of the data lives in Excel. Yep. Okay. So that's basically lakehouse. You have the flexibility to have both tables and files. Got it. So for the demo, I just want to show you guys how this can be replicated within Lakehouse in a very, very easy way. So right now I'm within the Fabric website. And what I'm going to do is start creating pipelines to pull the data in from a SQL database. Let's imagine just for a second that this is our SAP data. So I'm just going to type in some connection strings just to get this going. This is a database that I set up with the AdventureWorks database, which is a fictitious company from Microsoft. And now, like this, I logged into the database, and I can start pulling tables as I see fit now. So I can pull in the customer table, the product table, the product category table, and the sales. No, and just like that, all these tables, I can put them into this tool, which is called Dataflow, that allows me to do any sort of transformation that I want to the data before I bring it into the lakehouse. Okay, so here, for example, I could do things like adding columns on pivoting data, running any sort of mathematical operation, that sort of thing. But for the sake of the exercise, I'm just going to pull them directly into the lakehouse, just as they are. I'm pulling them directly from the SQL database over to the lakehouse. And I could do the same thing for SAP, Oracle, Dynamics, and a bunch of other different systems. Now, I'm not going to go one by one because it would take a while. I already did this before the podcast, so we're going to pretend this is a cooking show, and I'm going to skip right to the results. Okay. I think this is one I had prepared earlier. Yes. Yeah. So once I created that data flow, which just gets the data from the SQL database and puts it into Lakehouse, I can now see all the data as it was on my stores. So here, for example, I have the customers table, and I have here our friend, Mr. Glenn, PhD from this company, and so on and so forth. This is, of course, all fictitious data, so no real live data here. And I can do the same thing for other data sources. So I did this for like structured data sources, what would be my Infor, my SAP. What I could also do is this for certain APIs. And the way this is done, it is done through notebooks. Notebooks are a way in which you can pull data from APIs using simple Python code. So for anyone that is familiar with code, this notebook, what it does is it pulls up a bunch of different libraries, and I'm connecting here to the World Bank database to pull in some indicators, like economical indicators from different countries. So I pulled in Mexico because, and here I do a basic ETL where I extract data for Mexico, Brazil, USA, Russia. I transform the data, and then I load it into my lakehouse. So you see, it is 10 lines of code, and I managed to get data from an API and put it into the lakehouse. This, of course, is a very simple API, but it serves the purpose of showing you guys how you can extract data from anywhere with code, and you can start using it on your lakehouse. So as you can see now, we have SAP data, ADP data, CH Robinson data, DHL data. We could have all that data into one single space. Now,
Nice.
having data in a data warehouse just for the sake of it, it's kind of useless. Sorry. The interesting thing here is I can start creating data sets around it. So I'm going to create a new data set. Let's say I'm going to grab all the data from the database that I pulled. I'm going to name this Teams Tuesday data set. And wait for Microsoft to do its thing. What it is doing right now, it is for those of you guys that know what Power BI, how Power BI works, it is automatically creating a semantic model, what used to be called a data set, for me to connect Power BI reports to. So I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to show you, for example, all the tables that we pulled in. So we had the customers, we had the products, we had the product categories, sales order details, sales order header. Now I can start joining this data, giving this data a little bit more context. For example, I know that I can join the products with the product category ID. I can sales order header, I can join it over with the sales order ID. See if I got the direction. Yeah, I got the direction right. And of course, every sales has a specific customer. Good. And finally, let's join the product here. So what I'm doing right now is I'm letting Power BI know how all these tables join together. Now that I've joined all these tables together, I can actually go back to the main view where I was creating everything. And I can show you how all that data is starting to form this exact drawing that I was doing here. Power BI allows you to see that diagram live. So we can see how the data flows from the lakehouse to the SQL Analytics endpoint over to the data set that we're building. Now we can use that data set to start creating a report. So let me go ahead and start creating a report from the semantic model. If I remember where the button is, just going to go ahead here. New report. Teams Tuesday data set. And like this, I can start, let's say, adding a bunch of different filters over to my report. So like the product filter, the customer filter, and I could start creating different measures. Let's say, for example, I wanted to know what the total sales is, or the total. Let's go with the tax amount, total tax amount, just like that. I can start creating this. I can create another one for the total due amount. Or I could start creating different graphs. I could go ahead and create a graph that shows me the sales by product and product category. And because we declared what were all the relationships between all the different tables, it becomes possible to create this sort of visualizations. I think I made a mistake in one of the relationships. Yeah, this one is the other way around. It's good. Voila. Now come back to this. Refresh. Still not working. Well, I probably made a mistake over here at some point in one of the relationships. That's what happens when you do a live demo. But for the sake of just making the visualization, I'm going to show you guys just how that would look. So you can have something like this, where you have some product, there's some sales by product ID and that sort of thing. And then you could also have any of the charts, like line charts showing you sales across time, or I could have tables just displaying the sales by customer. Here I can go company name and then see if this one wants to work. This one works, not as good as I wanted to, but you could start creating all these different visualizations as you go. And it all worked in what, like 10 minutes?
Yep.
So that is the cool thing about having all these sort of pipelines built right into your data sets, because you can have all the information in one single place without having to go around different Azure resources and that sort of thing. And you can have everything all good and tied together. Let me save the report. Saying that, one important caveat about all of this is that Microsoft Fabric has only been out for like 10 months.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still a bunch of different bugs that happen. So yeah, just for everyone to know. Well, yeah, as you can see, we kind of like replicated what we had here, where we have data flowing in from different sources, going to the one lake, and finally into a report. And then I could say like refresh schedules and that sort of thing for the data to be updated continuously.
Understood.
Okay.
Okay.
That is basically what Fabric is, the simplification of all the data analytics workloads.
So, great. I can see it being simplified on that. In terms of the scale, in terms of data sets, where does it sort of like run out of gas?
As long as your wallet can keep on paying, it doesn't run out of gas.
All right. Okay.
Just to give you an idea.
All right. Okay. Very, very cool. All right. So this is very quickly. I got a couple of questions. I said, what's your blind spot in your Microsoft knowledge?
I think my biggest blind spot would be everything around virtual networks. Doesn't matter how much I study about them. It doesn't matter how many we have implemented. I always feel I've never fully grasped the entirety of virtual networks.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. And where do you source your knowledge from? Which blogs do you follow?
When it comes to Microsoft, I normally go to like DynaCube with Patrick LeBlanc and Adam Saxton, and also the Italians from SQL BI.
I see. Very, very cool. And in terms of, would you say like in terms of Fabric, this is obviously, I wouldn't say it's a game changer, but it's definitely a big step up for Microsoft in the data space, definitely.
It is a massive step up. I do see this as a kind of like a step change of how things were to how things are nowadays, especially around the computing component. So we were talking earlier before about previous architectures didn't allow you to do like parallel processing. But nowadays with Fabric, everything underlying your analytics processes is being done by 10 computers at the same time, or 20 nodes, however many nodes you can pay for. So everything runs much, much faster. We've seen clients that used to take like an entire night to refresh their data. And nowadays it takes like 10, 20, 30 minutes to refresh the entire thing. And once the data is refreshed, it works blazingly fast. Like I was showing you, I just fixed the relationships on the data set. And just to show you like the reports here, they work really extremely fast. Like all the interactions, it's going back to the data set and it's pulling the data at incredible speeds, which used to take before a lot of time.
Got it. All right. Okay then, Antonio, thank you for the demo. Where can people find you?
So either through LinkedIn or through my email, that is arturo.torres@ventagium.com.
Okay, we'll push your LinkedIn on our social media as well on that. But phenomenal demo, very interesting, very educational as well. Fabric, I think, is definitely going to be a big part of probably Soho Dragon's market offerings as well as a lot of other people's. But thank you for your time. Look forward to meeting you when you're next in New York City.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for your time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.